Britain has spent almost £200,000 protecting the welfare of hate preacher Abu Qatada after he was deported to his native Jordan to face terrorism charges. The sum, revealed by The Times, has sparked anger among both MPs and the public.
These payments are ridiculous. The money we have spent is an insult to the British taxpayer.
The government have succeeded in deporting Qatada by respecting the rule of law at each and every stage of the process. The deportation of Abu Qatada has taken 12 years and cost more than £1.7 million in legal fees for both sides. That is not acceptable to the public, and it's not acceptable to me. We must make sure it never happens again.
Qatada was granted asylum in the UK in 1994 as he claimed he'd been tortured in Jordan. The UK arrested him after 9/11 on terror-related charges. Qatada was sent back to Jordan 12 years later after receiving assurances he would not be tortured there. His deportation cost the UK a pretty penny, at least £1.9 million spent on his deportation, including payments for legal fees and legal aid. And nearly £200,000 was spent after his deportation for monitoring his condition and assuring he wouldn't be tortured. The government committed to monitoring Qatada for up to 3 years. The last payment, that was made in 2016. We put this issue up for debate with our experts.
In the first place, Abu Qatada should never have been granted asylum here back in '94. And when you think about all the money, all the welfare payments he and those around him parasited off the UK taxpayer until such times as he was deported, that's also pretty deplorable. And what's even worse is, even when we booted him out of the UK, we're still paying a couple of £100,000 of taxpayers' money to look after his human rights.
Your recipe is one for anarchy. You say he should never have claimed asylum in this country. We are a party to the Refugee Convention, like most civilised countries, which means that if somebody claims asylum and they can show a genuine fear of persecution, we are obliged to grant them asylum.
For you to suggest that my recipe is a suggestion for anarchy, what you're suggesting is a much greater suggestion for anarchy, because you're suggesting it's appropriate that the UK taxpayer should pick up the bill for a terrorist mastermind who comes from another country into the UK.
I'm suggesting the rule of law, which is different.
You got to let me finish. No, hang on a second, I got to finish. You're suggesting that the UK taxpayer should pick up the bill for a terrorist mastermind to come to the UK, live off benefits, and then when he does get deported back to Jordan, we further pick up an extra 200,000. Now, if that's not, well, nihilistic perhaps is a better word than anarchistic, but either way, it's pretty imbecilic. The fundamental fact is that this guy was, by any definition, an Al-Qaeda terrorist mastermind. Now, that should give you great cause for thought in terms of how you wish to see British taxpayers' money allocated. It certainly gives me great cause for concern. I'm glad that he was deported. I am disappointed that we've had to spend £200,000 to look after his welfare in Jordan when that money could have been spent much better, for example, Keith, here in the UK, looking after British victims of Al-Qaeda violence. Wouldn't you agree with me on that point? Where would you like to see the money spent, Keith? On an Al-Qaeda terrorist or his victims? Choose.
I'm only slightly disturbed, David, that it seems to me that your opinion as to whether somebody is wrapped up in criminality or not is sufficient to convict them. If an intelligence service alleges somebody is a well-known terrorist or something like that, but if those countries cannot provide the evidence to support those contentions, then I'm afraid I'm not prepared to listen with deep credence to any intelligence services that alleges something against somebody simply because it suits them politically to do so.
In essence, what Keith's saying must be music from heaven to the ears of any prospective terrorist wanting to get into the UK. This guy was a really bad rogue, where the UK is far better off without him. And yes, Neil, to your initial point, we should toughen up our laws much more robust to make sure that such wicked terrorists do not enter this country. They can go to Jordan or wherever else they want, but not in the United Kingdom.